Good evening. This is Simon Holden, the Sheriff of Tippingham, with a judge for a Monday night Judges' Duels.
That's right.
We're usually on Monday morning, but it is an evening, and I'm not in the library. I'm in front of the wave wall, and the judge is in front of his normal wall. So we're both in front of the wall.
Yeah.
Now, Judge, you have in the last few days, my friend, gone on something of a winning spree. I'll let you tell everyone about it. But before you do, I want to point out, if you're in my HFC club, you're not in Judge's private service, please do look out in your email, because you are going to want to look at the offer we are sending you. So, Judge, that big Trixie landed. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it was lovely on Monday, mate. Yeah, I've got 471 to 1 treble, which obviously it equated to just over 200 points profit on the bet, which was brilliant. We had Jane de Burley tipped at 12s that won comfortably at 9s. Amour de Mi Davida tipped up at 10s, actually won at 16s. And Victory March, which tipped up at 7 to 4, it won at odds on, but there was a small rule 4 on that. But it was a marvellous start to the week. And we finished the week quite well. We had a couple of winners and started this week very well with the winner today as well.
Yeah,
so
that was at Harb at Lingfield.
Lingfield
So
at
brilliant.
9 to 2. So it's going well, mate. Thank you.
You are on a roll, and like I say, if you are in Judge's service, you really got stuck in the last week, and if you're not, you may well want to check your email very soon. And I just a quick mention,
Yes.
I can't miss out too much, Judge. The home of big price winners, your free bet today, our Starlight 6 to 1.
That was massive, wasn't it?
At Leafy, what an SP. And of course, those double dipper players, well, we nearly landed at it right off at Cheltenham on Friday with a 10 to 1 winner.
Oh, yeah. That old Spirit of the Games did its usual, didn't it? Come there, looked like it was going to win.
Spirit of the Games was a Judge's duel.
It was.
I said it will go back to Cheltenham after a very quiet ride at Aintree. And it did, and it by gum nearly won and landed me 100. I think it was 135 to 1 double, but still 2 winning singles, and of course a big winner on the Lily Pynchon written winner that we had.
Oh, she gave that a fantastic ride, didn't she? Yeah.
But David Bridgewater, that was sensational. So look out for the next double dipper, and if you're not in Judge's service, look out. So it's been a great few days, mate. Now you've got 3 horses, I've got 2 to get in the trackers. Spirit of the Games proved again. Did
Absolutely.
it not that you've got to get these tracked up? You really do, because they are big profits to be made. So kick us off, Judge. Of course, weather has beaten us with some, but we've managed to come up with 5 between.
We have. I mean, obviously, we've missed out on Plumpton today, but I think we've also got to. I mean, I've actually got one for the all-weather as well later on out of my 3. I think it's important that we keep our eyes peeled for that in the next sort of week or so, especially with the weather like it is. So it's you still got to keep your eyes peeled for the all-weather horses. I mean, it's just nice that you keep finding the little winners here and there, and keep you going. But it is a jumper, the first one I'm going to, because I think this has been let's say a handicap project. I think it's a Richard Hughes horse. It ran on, I believe, on the Thursday in a novice hurdle. It's called Brentford Hope. They thought it was a Derby horse at one stage, didn't they? So I think they were getting quite excited about it. I mean, obviously, he's a 5-year-old now. He's had 2 runs over hurdles. He's rated 102 on the flat, and he gets every yard of a mile and a quarter. So he's going to get 2 miles on a sharp track, definitely, over hurdles. He's come second on his debut to Western Zephyr, running to an RPR of 112. And I thought he was given a little bit to do, let's say, in this novice hurdle. The Nichols horse was given 10 lengths at the start. He was out back last. He come up alongside him as they turned into the home straight. And under quite a kind ride, he finished a well-beaten second, beaten 7 lengths, once again running to a mark of 112 according to RPRs. I'll be surprised if the handicapper gives him any more than 112. But let's say he does even give him 112 or anything less. I think he could be a nice little handicap project for a couple of handicaps later in the season. So that's Brentford Hope, my first one.
Never mind Brentford Hope, you would hope that he was classy enough to win. Maybe a late season, good ground, handicap somewhere, maybe up at Ayr or somewhere like that, at the big meeting, because he's a really classy type who never really achieved what they hoped he would over the flat.
Yeah.
Brentford Hope, can see that one. And Hughesy wouldn't have many jump sources, would he? So
No, he jumped quite well, Si, I thought as well.
Yeah,
so it's not. I don't think that's a problem. So it's not like he bulldozes away through them. I think he's well up to jumping okay. And like I say, perhaps around a nice sharp track, I could even see an 8-tree. I'm not saying perhaps he should be that class really to running one of the better handicap hurdles later in the year. But I think he could win around Wincanton or Huntingdon. Sort of one of the sort of better track. Even Ludlow often get good ground, don't they? So there's normally some valuable handicaps around there.
Yeah, and I'm sure Desi Hughes has taught him how to, teach a horse to hurdle.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So, now we'll come to my first one, which actually ran on a Friday when I did the old double dipper. In the HFC email, you were given a horse I said I had a feeling was going to be a big gamble, and he certainly was. He was Brazos, trained by MJM O'Sullivan. And trained by JJ Murphy, ridden by the claimer MJ O'Sullivan, and he was 10-1 when I gave him. He was second at 7. Now I have to say, Judge, he got well beat, but he was still a winning bet, obviously. Now he got beat by Captain Morgs. Now in the YouTube, I said that Henderson had 2 in the race, and Dusart was the very strong favourite. But I said I actually fancied Captain Morgs out of the 2, and he won extremely impressively, and I think he's a horse who could really acquit himself well in open company, not handicap. So I think Brazos has really run into one there. Now, what gives this form a strong look? I know you've got one in this race, which you'll come to.
That's right.
What gives this form a very strong look to me is the 3rd horse, Annual Invictus, trained by the master trainer Chris Gordon, ridden by Harry Cobden. He is a very solid yardstick at this level, and Brazos beat him fair and square. And I actually think that the young jockey gave Brazos a little bit too much to do in this race. He would not have beaten Captain Morgs, and I'm not saying for a minute he would, but he should have been maybe beaten 4 lengths by it, not 7. And that makes me think when he does go up, because he was given too much to do, he still might have a bit in hand of the handicapper. And I think he's going to win a nice handicap either back here or raid again in England over Christmas. And I'm sure that, it was a winning bet, so it's not a case of losses of Lent, but I think Brazos has got a winning bet. And they suggest we stick with him. Now, Judge, you've got a horse in the race. I'll let you tell it while I go and put a little log on my log burner, which I should have done before we started.
Okay, so I shall waffle along to myself. Yeah, that Captain Morgs, on its previous run, came second to Call Me Lord at Kempton. And Call Me Lord was the unlucky loser when the jockey rode to the wrong winning line on his previous try, if you like. So I think that was good form line. So Captain Morgs obviously is a solid one from the race. But the one I was looking at was a horse called Jatilwa. That's easy for me to say. Well done there. Jatilwa is actually my selection. Obviously, David Maxwell was going to be riding. You don't take it. But you get what you're going to get. This horse 2 years ago running the Per Temps final, and it came 8th to Sire de Burlane. That's possibly one of the strongest Per Temps finals there's ever been, probably, because you had Storyteller come second, Third Wind, who was 4th, ended up being a graded winner. You had the old Kansas City Chief who couldn't stop winning last season out of the race. It's a right solid race, that. And anyway, Jatilwa ran a good race in the final. It finished 8th off a mark of 148. Well, in this race on Friday, even there were 2 hurdles omitted again, weren't there? They had to weave in and out of the fight. It was a funny race. He made a bad mistake.
That's another reason why I think the young lad was wrong to get so far back.
Yeah,
because it turned into that sprint, and he was.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just a funny old race. Well, this Jatilwa now is rated 138, which is £10 lower. I thought there was a bit of promise in that run, and there's quite a few of these Per Temps qualifiers where, let's say, I think the politest way is saying you've got to finish in the first 4 now rather than the first 6. But you quite often find that they don't try to win them necessarily. But the older boys, they're the ones that tend to run well in them, aren't they? The ones they have their day in the sun. They're not going to win the final. They tend to have the qualifiers are the one that they tend to win. I can see him popping up in one of these qualifiers at quite a rewarding price, and I thought that was quite a sensible run first time out for the season. I think obviously the handicapper's got to drop him at least another pound or two for that. And he's now going to get to the stage he's going to be competitively handicapped. So Jatilwa was my one out of that race, mate.
I like that. I mean, I've said to you earlier, I think it's a very strong race. Do you think that, and no offence to him, that Maxwell is capable of riding a quiet one for later in the season?
No, he's not. I just think basically what happened in the race. I think he's always riding a quiet one, if I'm really honest. But the point is, you're going to get a prize with him on as well, aren't you? And we're not going to talk about that. We don't talk about the other week when he won, when Call Me Lord. Obviously, I was just mentioning got chipped because he rode to the rock when he liked. But
I think
he does win the odd race, doesn't he? You know. So,
I think it's always fair to say that you're right. He does get his winners, and Call Me Lord was an example when you didn't want him to win. But, I do think that punters have to realise and be fair. This is a very rich guy. This is his chosen sport.
Absolutely.
He's got every right to ride them. He clearly is not very good against this level of professional jockey in terms of looking. So if you do bet these horses, you do bet these horses, you cannot moan after. You have to be warned and accept that and build it.
It should be a wealth warning rather than a health warning, shouldn't they?
Build it into the price. So if you're going to do these Maxwell horses, and many people make a decision that they're not because they say it's not for me, whatever. But if you are gonna and you feel they're overpriced, you must build that in. But I think it's a hot race. He won
a qualifier last year. So do you remember when you had that Kansas City Chief, which obviously she did win one there, and I can't remember what the horse was now. Come and done you, didn't it?
Didn't he? Yeah. And then Kansas City Chief won the next one.
Right.
That's very solid.
So she's well up to winning one of these races. So he'd probably be more tired than the horse come up to the finishing line anyway.
And you'd be more tired watching him.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Let's move on. So we found you 2-in-1 race there at Shelters.
Yeah.
And now we move to a National Hunt Flat race that happened yesterday at Southall for my second bet. Now, I cannot believe this meeting was on, but it was on.
Nor could I.
And tucked away in the middle of it, not at the end, was a bumper. Now, the bumper was won by a horse called Samazel, who was having its second run, who'd made its debut in a very hot race at Ascot. But that's not the eye catcher. It's not even the horse that was second, Sean Petra, which I thought ran very well. It's not even the third that was called Janworth, who did run well. I think this was a decent race. The horse I liked was a horse that was very well backed yesterday, all day. Trained by Ollie Murphy, was ridden by Sean Bowen. It's called Am I Wrong? Very, very well-bred horse. Now, clearly, this is showing them plenty at home, clearly. However, things didn't go right, but I think we can forgive it, Judge, because I think it was making its debut. I think it was a decent race. He pulled very, very hard early and wasted a lot of energy. Sean Bowen then got him settled. Then the horse started hanging over the track. It was babyish. It was green. But what I did like was Bowen kept going, didn't get stuck into it, hands and heels. And if you watch this race back, he starts to pick up the whole point of racing in the last furlong and a half. And he plugs on really well. Now, obviously, horses in front of him had experience. The fact that they backed him against them, I think he's showing a lot. And I think this race will have made a man out of him. And I think he's a surefire winner. So it's one of those where if you went in on the unraced gamble, you can be tempted to think, it's not as good as was said, and walk away from the horse and think. But there are real legitimate reasons. He was very, very green, and he pulled very, very hard, wasted a lot of energy. I really like the way he finished this race. Next time out, I suspect he'll have less fizz in him. They'll have corrected the hanging or certainly worked on it. And I think you're going to see a 10-length better horse next time. And I think if they find him a standard bumper somewhere, he's well up to one. And he might be a bigger price than he should be. So Am I Wrong is my second eye catcher.
Yeah, that didn't look a bad race, did it? Because the winner had run well at Ascot the time before. So, and also he was a little bit. He got a little. I know the winner came from far back, but he got a little bit behind on his first run, didn't he? And they sort of quickened away from him. He didn't know what to do with himself. And then, like you say, he stayed on. I mean, I'd be surprised he can't pick up, say, an ordinary bumper somewhere. He won't be running at one of the bigger tracks, but you'd be surprised he can't pop up at least, what you call a standard bumper, and then possibly win another one later on. But there's
and the fascinating thing about that race is the winner had debuted at Ascot in a hot race, but on that day he pulled like mad.
Exactly.
He yesterday showed the benefit of the run. He looked a different horse. Now, the fact that they punctured it against that and the Snowden one very heavily, I think Ollie Murphy really, really likes this one. And I think that he'll have said to the owners, look, he didn't so much need the race because he wasn't fit. He needed to learn how to race. And he was too fizzed up. And then once they settled him, he hung around and did loads of babyish things. And if he hadn't finished like he did, then I may have thought, well, he's maybe a long-term prospect. But you watch the replay of this race, he doesn't have to get his head down. The front three have gone. He's never going to catch them. But look at the way he pulls away from the rest of the field. This is a decent horse, and I think he's got at least
a winning bumper in him, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and possibly a decent career in front of him. But we want him next time in a bumper if you're watching, Ollie.
Yeah, that's right, definitely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I suppose I better go for my last one then.
Why not, mate? Why?
Onto the all-weather side. You know I love a bit of all-weather action.
Can't beat the sand.
Yeah, well, we got to be careful what we say about all-weather. It is a bit of an unfortunate name, I must say, but we've got to have a little mention about Newcastle at the weekend. It's shambolic again. Our industry.
We're on about big prices, Judge. What odds would you have got for an all-weather meeting to be off due to the weather, and on the same day, an all-weather track, Southall, race on their jumps track, and it passes the inspection?
Bonkers,
now,
isn't it?
I think I wouldn't have taken 50s, I don't think.
No, would I. It's just, obviously, I had one picked out in the first, and I put the TV on. I thought, what's going on here? And can you imagine owning a horse or train and then getting all the way up to Newcastle and they called it off? Seriously, someone somewhere must have known quite a bit more in advance that the ground was a bit dodgy. Surely, you do question it. Plus, you got terrestrial TV there. It's terrible look, isn't it?
It's a terrible look. Yet, just a few weeks after the if you're a sort of major player at ITV and you're making decisions about extending their contract, getting terrestrial TV to show racing, in the cross point, you would have in capitals the farce at Ascot, which would have had people turning off in droves, and the utter joke of them rerouting to Newcastle or weather, only to find out half an hour before the first that the rather embarrassed clerk of the course has to ring the head of ITV Sport, which I'm told is what happened, and say, I'm extremely sorry, today's meeting will not be going ahead. Now, that does racing no favours with ITV.
It does. Look, if it's -10 or -20 overnight, you can understand it, but it was cold. But let's be honest, I think it's weird how that's not working. Something's got to be wrong with the surface there, isn't it?
It's a relatively new track, which we're told was super duper and handle everything.
Absolutely. It's not like one of the older ones, which used to have trouble at Lingfield, didn't they? I think
used to go around with the tractor, didn't they, at Southall, the old one.
But anyway, we digress a bit, but it's definitely worth covering because it's just shocking, really, in terms of how the game's portrayed. Well, we're multi-million-pound industry, and we can't get it. Anyway, moving swiftly on. I'm going to. I think the race was on Thursday. There at Lingfield. There's the race of the day. There, it's a sprint handicap. I believe it's a 0 to 90, or is it 0 to 85? It's quite a valuable race there. 0 to 90, I thought it was. And the winner of the race was Tiger Bay. But I like the run of the second here, Total Commitment. He's an old boy now. I'm saying that, I thought he was an old boy. He's only 6, actually. I thought he was about 8 or 9. He's been around for years, it seems. This old boy, I'm going to still call him that, it's been knocking on the door of late. He's now slipped to a mark of 83. His last 3 or 4 starts have been pretty good ones, especially his second to Aramis Gray at Chelmsford. The way Aramis Gray's gone on to progress since then, has won another couple of races in good company at Kempton. And then obviously in that Kempton race, funny enough, Total Commitment came fourth to Apollo 1. So we're talking about high-end handicappers, if you like. This old boy went toe-to-toe with the favourite from the start. The two of them went clear. And as they turned into the home straight, it looked like it's going to be between the two of them. And you know what happens at Lingfield? One come down the outside and actually he done both of them. But I'll spit it out. But the favourite actually dropped away to fourth. And this old kid, he stayed there and only literally got chin 3 or 4 strides from the line. He's probably going to go up a pound or two, but I think he's got to be close to winning now. I'd like to see him go back to Kempton, where he's got a really good record there. Preferably a middle to low draw there. And I think there's a race in this all soon. I mean, he's definitely been banging on the door. He's second, third, fourth, second now. He's literally one you can run, set your clock by. I mean, good enough in his heyday to, as you would know, mate, come third in, I think, they say in the Woking, but certainly in a good race at Ascot. He's been running in Wokinghams and that. He's going to find it a bit easier soon. He's got to get his head in front because he tries. So for me, I think this is one to watch out in the next week or so, because I think that these sprinters tend to run certainly once every week or two. I think Total Commitment will be in the winning enclosure very soon.
Excellent. Total Commitment. Judge's got the sand, I've got the sea. That's what it's all
right.
about.
That's good.
Five Judges' Duels for you. We've seen yet again this week that these are dynamite. Get them all in those free trackers. A Google free horse racing tracker, and ones will come up and you can just get them in. And then the day before they run, you'll get that email. So, Judges it form. I've a bit of form. The home of big price winners is HFC. It's not just a tagline. It actually is the home of big price winners. So like I said at the start, if you're in HFC Club, but you're not in Judges Private Service, the verdict, then look out. I shall be emailing you in the next couple of days. Judge, I shall see you. Let's cross everything and hope this cold weather lifts. And Ascot's brilliant long walk hurdle, which I'm in attendance, hopefully, will go ahead. At the weekend. We've already missed a Goodwin Christmas party today.
5 inches of snow down here, mate.
Now, you might not have been completely sober, Judge. So maybe it's a good thing. Who knows? I would have been moving around like I was like on board ship with the water all behind me. That's if we made it to the video at all. Sadly, it didn't for Goodwin, but I'm sure that brilliant meeting on the 2nd of January will make up for it at Plumpers. So we want Ascot on. We can't miss 2 in 1 week. That would be unfair. No. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on Friday night. And keep those winners going, Judge.
I shall, mate.
That's my verdict. Be lucky.
You too, mate.
I own Nicky's catchphrase now.
Hey.